Hello and welcome to the 42nd episode of Rambling Weekly. I have been a busy bumblebee this week, so I really didn't have anything until last night when I did a recording with Sushi B on something. So, got a topic. I have a bunch of other topics I just hadn't thought of, but I figured this would be an interesting one to talk about, as the title says, a weakness growing. We'll unpack that as we go along. But first, a bumper. Welcome back. So the music for this episode is coming from the 20th anniversary Rockman 1-6 techno arrange mix, and the half of it is these arrangements and then half of it's the original tunes. A little heavy on the Mega Man 2 tunes. I think there's like 4 of them, where 4, 5, and 6 only get 1 apiece, and I think Mega Man 3 gets 2, and then Mega Man 1 gets 1, 2? I guess it's got the select thing as well, but that select one is a medley. Anyways, Shinji Hosoe, he did the arrangements, and if memory serves me correctly, a certain B. Clark has an article on his website talking about a certain game that he was a part of, and that is, it gets brought up. It's not like the main thing about the game, but Dragon Spirit, he was the lead composer for that game, from what I remember. I'm double checking these things. I need to know these things, because I think that's what that is. I don't want to be wrong. Yeah. He composed that, and he was also done. He worked with Yuzo Koshiro in Eye of the Beholder and Yuki Kajiura for Xenosaga Episode 2, and a whole bunch of different stuff. It seems like he really stopped working a lot after 2010, and then just kind of here and there. Well, I take it back. He becomes less of a lead composer and more of just a contributor. Quote unquote, just a contributor. So, but that one's Heatman's, the Heatman mix there, and good stuff. I don't know, I've been super busy. How has everybody else been doing? Hope you're doing well. I have not busy bad or anything, but just I've been fairly consistently busy, to the point where it is 9:30 in the morning, right before this thing should be going up, so I need to be very quick in editing it and getting it out the door. So, fingers crossed. Let's see, what's been going on? Not too horribly much. Been staying consistently there with work. Work has been going well. It's been going nice in that regard. Yeah, there's really not been too much on my end that's been going this week. It felt like a bit of a blur and just zoomed on by. The only thing I can think of is this is how like interesting my week has been. The highlight has been, I was like, I'm gonna use some Italian seasoning and make some breakfast burritos, and it turned out pretty good. That's about the biggest contribution to the week that I've really had. It's been, I don't know. I don't know where it went. Blinked and just zoomed on by. I didn't really play much in the way of Divinity. I've been playing a little bit more of Indivisible, but beyond that, I really haven't. What else? I kind of dabbled a little bit back into the last spell, but it wasn't like a lot. I think I did 2 or 3 runs. Not even 3. I think I did 1.5. I'm still in the middle of a run that I haven't gone back to. Oh, I've been doing writing. I think that's probably what's what has taken up a chunk of my time. I've gotten back into doing that, so that's been nice. So I'm looking to continue that trend. See, because I work quote unquote part time. It's around like 30 hours or so, and next week coming, I looked at my schedule and it was like, oh, I only work 19. That's gonna be really, really tight for bills, but it's at least manageable. The boss was like, hey, totally didn't see a chunk of you guys there at the end. I think my last name alphabetically falls towards the back end of things. And he was like, do you want in on this day and this day? I'm like, sure. So instead of having 4 days off, I only have the usual 2 for next week. So it's not like I'll be A, starving away, B, like super duper time to I don't know. I know I've mentioned this before, but I have this bad habit of when I get a lot of time, I tend to do a lot less instead of kind of being up on scrunch to be like, yeah. For whatever reason, I don't know. I get ensnared into goofing off, I guess. I'm weak. I guess the other highlight of the week has been that those Noosa yogurts, I don't know how long they've been out, but they have a pumpkin flavor, and that stuff is pretty tasty. Pretty tasty. I love pumpkin flavored things. Pumpkin is delicious, and I will not hear it be slandered. No. Do I have anything else? That's really not. Like, I'm about as geared up for Halloween as I'll ever be. I'm not a big, dress up costume kind of guy, but yeah, that's really about it. You know what else I did? I did a little bit of cleaning. I did a little bit of organizing. I still need to buy a couple bookshelves because I have so much stuff that's just sitting in totes still, even though I've been living here for over, not like a ton, but I've pretty much been here for 6 months, and I still have stuff in totes. It's like I need to properly. It's like I planted my flag, but I just sort of put it in about 3 or 4 inches, so it's sort of kind of leaning over. It's like I need to straighten it out and put it in a little bit deeper. But yeah, that's really about it. That's honestly what probably took a chunk of my time that I wasn't really cognizant of, is that I did a bit of a deep clean, vacuumed a good deal, and just thoroughly digging through stuff. Unfortunately, I had these the round sunglasses. I can't find them. I don't know if I left them somewhere. I suspect I put them in a box and I didn't realize I put them in a box, and whenever I see it's in a box within a box and a box and a box and a box and I probably have that in one of them and I've just not realized it, and whenever I see my tote of boxes, I'm just kind of oh, okay, it's just boxes, that's fine, and it's probably one of those. But yeah, other than that, done a deep clean. Didn't really do much in the way of streaming. I shifted over to doing YouTube, partially because I've now locked my streaming stuff out of my Twitter channel because I don't remember my password, and it's linked to an email that I don't even have access anymore. Because this is what I do to myself. Oh well, it is what it is. Anyways, yeah, we're gonna take a break and get into the topic. So, see you soon. Welcome back. That tune. That one is the Magnet Man mix one. Woohoo! Yeah, part of it's also because I like the original Magnet Man theme. Yeah, it's a good one. I know I've mentioned it before in the Mega Man review stuff. I myself prefer 3 style of music over 2s, but unfortunately for this compilation of the techno ones, I went with half of 2s and the other half being 3s, because those are the best 4. They're the ones that I like the most. Or the other ones take too long to build up, and I'm like, I'm not gonna play the song for 3.5 minutes. Or 2.5 minutes just to get to that 1 16-second bit that's like really good. And the build-up is what helps make it really good. It's just, no, can't do it. Anyways, this episode, we're going to be talking about a weakness growing. And this literally came from having conversation after recording with Sushi. I don't remember what the impetus was for it. Either it was before or after. I don't remember. The lines blur. But I don't remember what the impetus for it was, but so I have this theory. It's a 2-pronged theory, so follow me, please, as we step 1 foot in each direction. First is the theory of why sandbox games are popular. Things like Minecraft, things like just sandbox in general, all that sort of fun stuff. I think Minecraft also scratches 2 separate itches, one of them being what I mentioned, and then another one is the whole building aspect. But to me, those sorts of games are really, really popular for people who do not have adventure in their life. And I don't mean in the sense of some sort of grandiose adventure. You can certainly get that through reading books or that sort of thing. Or maybe they choose not to read books because it's just not something they want to do. They want to act it out kind of thing. I think we were talking about Breath of the Wild or something. I've played all of like 15, not even 15 minutes, probably about 3 minutes worth of that game. It's just not really interesting to me. Part of it's because it's just such an expansive area. I'm like, I like Xenoblade, the first one, but I need... Like, it's nice to be able to explore, but I need that tracker in there. That's partially why when I did the Xenoblade versus the last story, which one's better kind of thing, that's part of the thing. It's like, I don't need this expansive area to go rummaging around in. Having the tracker really, really helped. Mind you, that can also be a hindrance because then people just look at the tracker. I remember I would do that with Star Ocean 3 with the map. Same thing happened with East Salsetta and which one? East 7 I don't think did that. Salsetta and 8 I think were the 2 big culprits of, hey, here's a map, explore and that sort of thing. So you focus on the mini map instead of just playing the game and focusing on that. And I know those few games listed aren't the only ones with that problem, but I vaguely remember that being a conversation of, hey, when this sort of thing is up here and stuff, people tend to gravitate to focus on that instead of just kind of wandering around. Not always, but yeah, so this is where I think that sandbox and the choice of not having that adventure in one's life isn't, they just don't want to be adventurous. Perhaps it's because they are too consumed with social obligations or work, or just simply unable to due to financial, physical, or whatever sort of reasons. I really think that is a big reason why those games are popular. And I think that's why you also have those big, like MMOs in a way were a way to not necessarily supplant, but to fill in that groove of a lack of social environment or a lack of a social setting, just a social group, having friends around and all that sort of stuff. And that turns into like that's that. Minecraft also gets the building aspects of people who like to craft things. It's for virtual Legos, and for better and for worse, that it scratches that itch where Legos are still pretty pricey. I mean, you could probably pay, if anything, Legos were a good investment had I been, 15 years younger and had money. But just because those things never seem to ever go down in price. They are a pricey toy. So, where somebody might, this is not necessarily always the case and whatnot. This is why I reverted to doing writing and stuff, was because there was a big stretch of my life where having money for things was a luxury. And I don't mean things as in, the new basketball hoop or something like that. No, food. Food to eat. Bit of a luxury at times, where something like reading and writing were a very cheap way to keep the soul satiated, if not the body. stepping back, the adventure thing. I really think if more people were interested in executing out on an adventure, whether that is simply taking a walk somewhere, and I get it, sometimes that's not doable, sometimes that can be really hard, so, it's just whatever the situation may be that arises for it. I get that. If somebody's able to go drive somewhere, just go adventure, take a walk down a street you haven't walked down in a while or something like that. I think that sort of thing would maybe scratch that itch for the sandbox games. I could be wrong. I totally could be wrong. Like I said, it's just a theory. Anyways, that's one of the prongs. And then the building thing with like Minecraft, you have the exploration and stuff, but then also the building, you do something. Yeah, we don't have really Lincoln Logs. Legos are expensive. Some people draw. That's certainly a way to go about it. Or maybe they make music or play the instrument. There's at least a catharsis that isn't necessarily a soothing, but more of a comforting to see that you've done something and it's A, making a mark, B, you're seeing a progress being made. Music, it might be a little bit harder to deal with. Writing, it's certainly, you're like, oh, wow, another terrible page. Throw it in the fire kind of thing. But at least it's written. I feel like that itch to scratch, because it's kind of hard to do adventure when the whole world's been explored, quote unquote. I mean, there's tons of stuff that hasn't, aka oceanic stuff and caverns and all that sort of jazz. But if you don't have the money, the ability, the know-how, or what have you to do those sorts of things, it isn't like you can just Lord of the Rings second breakfast yourself elsewhere it's not a feasible thing. Well, not that it's not feasible, it's just not a thing that people seem interested in doing. Plus, the people might be like, oh, it's scary because homeless people or drug addicts or all the danger or something. Homeless people mostly. Maybe, yeah. It depends on who you run into. There's a lot of homeless people who just want to be left alone. So, yeah, they just want to sequester themselves away from society that they don't like. I think people build up all these sorts of dangers, and there's always going to be dangers on things. But they build up all these dangers, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I can't do this. So they put up the shields and start tightening quarters and everything, and then they've only got this small little pocket. And so then the things that pocket is all their experience, their whatever, their world, it seeps out into going through explorations and sandbox games and stuff like that. That's my theory. Anywho, the second prong of this wonderful theory that isn't necessarily tied to one another, in a way it does, but kind of loosely, is the advent of choices mattering in games. I certainly used to be in this mindset as well, that, wow, it's really annoying to play a game and then you make these choices. I always joke about that, but thou must kind of thing, Dragon Quest. Man, well, maybe I didn't want to go take on the Dragon Lord. Maybe I just wanted to stay here, but thou must. I think the reason why people want to put such a heavy emphasis on that sort of thing, I don't have a good way of wording this, but it's because of being weak. I know that is a mighty heavy glove to swing somebody's way, but weak in the sense of either they are unable to change the circumstances around them, and it's not to say that they are weak per se, but more of they are not strong enough to overcome whatever forces it may be, external or internal, to change one's setting. But also it is a weakness in that people are unable to accept, or maybe not even accept, but dislike the choices that they've made. I mean, it could be, one, they don't accept that the choices that they made have led them here, or B, that they don't like that the choices that they made led them to here. And this, you get into the things like the paradox of hedonism of, well, if you pursue the happiness in the moment, it doesn't, over an extended period of time, it's quite a possibility that your happiness is not near what it would be had you maybe delayed happiness gratification until a little bit later or something of the sort. I think seeing such an advent in like or just a heavy emphasis on choices mattering in games and stuff like that is because people are not happy with themselves. And coupled with that unhappiness of not that inability to being able to break out from whatever chains they've shackled themselves to or have been shackled to get out of that. Those are my theories. Like I said, I could totally be way off on those sorts of things, but I really feel that that's why those types of games have gotten very popular over the last 10 to 15 years. Maybe not just really popular, but just like, I mean, you had it with the social aspect of like MMOs and stuff back in the day, because that's, people were being able to branch out and being like, I'm living in a small town. I don't really know the people here and there. So like, or, I know we know each other, but we don't like each other and we don't have any of the same interests. Oh, but I can go on to the newfangled www, World Wide Web, and meet people there. This also makes me think that as time has gone on, as the internet has become more and more of a ubiquitous, ever-growing, ceaseless monster of blob proportions, there's a little bit less of a, how to put it, I feel like it's leveled out some of the small town yokel attitudes, but I don't think we've come to acknowledge that. Maybe I'm wrong in thinking that, but I know for a very long time there was always the attitude that the small town is a bunch of silly hillbillies, silly small town folk, and there's certainly strong instances of that, particularly in the elderly or the older portions of that. But I think as more and more generations have grown up or have been introduced to the internet at a younger age, I think that's really lessened that field, or lessened that level, where I think it's a bit more, not necessarily that it's level, it's less about the location of where somebody's living, particularly if they have internet, and more about what locations they're going to on the internet that maybe has a stronger effect. That's where I would, I joke about going to places for like junk food for the brain, but that's certainly a thing. And having a lot of junk food as a kid is not really, I mean, it's not healthy for you, period, but when you're trying to develop and get your quote unquote get your act together to springboard into life, could be a bit of a problem that your internet choices are weird ones. Or let's just say not so good. Not nourishing. I feel like particularly those first two things highlight something that's wrong, and it is an answer to try, like those, maybe I don't know if wrong's probably the best way to put it, but it's something that's up. And the sandbox game, as well as the choices matter element, that those things have really risen kind of out of a necessity, but also because these things are not being satiated one way or the other, and it's got to come out some way. Maybe I'm wrong on that front, but that's certainly, I don't know, that's certainly where I think that's a thing. I mean, it's certainly enticing and luring to be like, I don't like these things, so I'm going to go choose like a whole bunch of stuff in a game. I mean, I think it's also D&D, you kind of get that aspect as well. You can put on this mask and be somebody else completely different because it's just a game, quote unquote, or it's it's something different. I don't know. That's what I got. That is my half-baked thoughts on something that came up at like 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning for me. So that's what I got. So we're going to take a break, we'll get to a quote, and then get out of here because I got to edit this thing because it is already 10 o'clock and I'm running out of time. I'm in trouble. All right. Welcome back. I know. Another Dr. Wily, Stage 1, Mega Man 2. Anyway. What? It's like I said, it's without playing a song for super duper long. I had to stick with these four, unless I just want the original tunes, and that just wouldn't be fair. So, yeah. So it's fine. It works. There's nothing really too out of the ordinary with that. Anyways, I'm gonna bring up the quote for today, and it is going to be from Thucydides, the History of the Peloponnesian War writer, and yeah. It's just, I would say go read it, but it's also a fairly thick book. How many pages is that book? Let's take a gander. The History of the Peloponnesian War. It's oh wow, cool, great. I did not exactly want that. Okay, let's see. Okay, maybe it's not nearly as long as what I think it is. I don't know how long. Oh boy. I should just grab the book. Timeout. I'm grabbing the book. I've got it somewhere. Pause. Alright, unpause. So the Penguin Classics version, because I am a pauper, is about looks to be about 600 pages. So, but it's not like dense 600, but there's a lot to go into. Anyways, good old Thucydides. History of the Peloponnesian War. I'll quote a quote from it here, and that is, "If you give way, you will instantly have to meet some greater demand, as having been frightened into obedience in the first instance, while a firm refusal will make them clearly understand that they must treat you more as equals." So, yeah, I think it's a good lesson to know, just in the sense of just dealing with people in general and stuff. If, like, I know there's the obnoxiousness in the political sense, but I'm not even thinking of that. I think this is you as yourself in any sort of social interactions, as Machiavellian as this is going to sound. There's a give and take in some sort of social interaction. So if you give way to the other person who's interacting with you, whatever that interaction may be, it's a signifier that they'll be able to take more and more and more. And yeah, you can put your foot down, but until that's been shown, and also being firm about it and not wishy-washy, it's kind of a marker that would be like, okay, all right, I can get what I want from this person. And that's the quote I got. That's the end. So apologies for a bit of the sloppy side of things. Hopefully next week I'll get back into it a bit better. Yeah, my days off or a bit too preoccupied, and then for whatever, it's got to be because I cleaned. I don't know. Just the week zoomed on by, and then I just didn't realize it, and I was like, oh no. So, but we're going to get our way out of here by having a techno version of probably my favorite Mega Man song, Snake Man's theme, and yeah, it's a good one. It's pretty tasty. It's pretty good. That's it. Thanks for listening. And enjoy your weekend, and anything and everything in between, and I'll catch you next week. Bye.
Rock